When rock and roll legend Buddy Holly tragically died in that infamous 1959 plane crash, the world was shattered. His music had changed the course of history, and his sudden death at just 22 left fans in mourning. But while thousands of admirers gathered to say their final goodbyes, one person was noticeably absent: his wife, Maria Elena. For decades, her decision not to attend his funeral left fans stunned. Now, she's finally revealed the real reason, and it's more heartbreaking than anyone ever imagined. Buddy Holly's story is one of brilliance cut short. Born in Lubbock, Texas, he was a boy with a guitar and a dream. By his early 20s, he had already reshaped music, inspiring legends like the Beatles, Bob Dylan, and the Rolling Stones. With hits like That'll Be the Day and Peggy Sue, Holly became the face of a new era in music. But on February 3, 1959, the day the music died, his promising career ended in a freezing Iowa cornfield when the small plane carrying him, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper crashed shortly after takeoff. The tragedy would go down as one of the darkest days in music history. At the time of his death, Buddy Holly had only been married for 6 months. Maria Elena Santiago, a young Puerto Rican woman who had fallen deeply in love with the rising star, suddenly found herself a widow before her life as a wife had even begun. Fans expected her to be at the funeral, standing by his family, saying a tearful goodbye. But when she wasn't there, questions swirled. Why would the love of his life choose not to attend such a defining moment? For years, Maria Elena stayed silent. The speculation only grew. Some believed it was too painful, others thought there may have been family conflicts, and still others whispered about unspoken secrets. But the truth, as she later revealed, was far more heartbreaking and deeply human. She couldn't attend the funeral because the grief was too overwhelming. Just 2 days after the crash, she suffered a miscarriage, losing the child she was carrying with Buddy. The double tragedy was too much for her to bear. Facing the funeral would have meant reliving every ounce of her pain in front of the entire world, and she simply couldn't do it. In later interviews, Maria Elena admitted that the shock of hearing the news was so devastating that she fainted. Alone, pregnant, and reeling from the unimaginable, she collapsed under the weight of grief. Attending the funeral, with fans, reporters, and the prying eyes of the world upon her, felt impossible. She once confessed, "I just couldn't.
I couldn't see him like that.
To me, he was still alive in my heart, and I wanted to remember him that way." Her decision, though criticized at the time, revealed the crushing emotional toll the tragedy had taken on her. She not only lost her husband, but also their unborn child. It was a loss so profound that, for many years, she avoided even listening to Buddy's music because it was too painful. And yet, despite her absence at the funeral, Maria Elena became one of the most important guardians of Buddy Holly's legacy. She later dedicated much of her life to ensuring that the world never forgot his impact on music. Through interviews, appearances, and her work with foundations, she kept his memory alive for future generations, making sure his name would forever be linked to the birth of rock and roll. So when fans ask why Buddy Holly's wife wasn't at his funeral, the answer is simple, yet heartbreaking. She wasn't absent because of indifference, but because of grief so immense that it nearly destroyed her. Her absence wasn't a sign of distance. It was proof of how much she had loved him. Buddy Holly's music continues to play, timeless and alive, but the story of his wife's private pain reminds us that behind every legend is a human heart, often broken in ways the world never sees.